Hey yogis, welcome to Limitless Yoga Studio Online. My name is Kelsey and this is Watson, and today we're going to be doing a class towards basically a transitional flow from standing splits to baby grasshopper. So we're going to be working hamstrings and our outer hips. Now, remember, if you're loving this content, then make sure and give us a like, give us a follow, and we also have a link for a Patreon account so that you can donate so that we can keep making these awesome classes. Watson has decided he's not interested anymore. What are you doing, bud? Come here. So for today's class, you're going to want 2 of your yoga blocks and ideally a strap. If you don't have a strap, you can use things like a belt or a jump rope or a resistance band, something like that. It'll just help us get a little bit of a better stretch through a few of these poses. So when you are ready, put on your favorite playlist, lay on back, and let's get to that breath work. I'm going to find a comfortable position on my back, which might involve knees bent, feet planted, or I might want to lengthen up my legs if that's best on my low back. Once I have my position, I'm going to close down my eyes, relax the muscles of the face, dropping the jaw, dropping the tongue, and just really creating this blank slate from head to toe. As I drain the energy that I might be using in the shoulders or the hips, I'm going to start to turn that awareness and that focus to the breath. Each inhale, actively drawing in as much as I can so that I can really stretch out the lungs. This is going to involve filling up the belly, the ribs, and the chest in that order. As each inhale stretches out the lungs, you might notice that the next inhale gets a little longer, a little more complete. Maybe you feel a stretch in the belly or along the side bodies on the ribs, or maybe across the collarbones. After a few cycles of breath, you might even tap into the back body so that you're breathing with 360 degrees of breath work around the waistline. Imagine if you were wearing a belt, that belt is expanding in all directions equally. Eventually, a goal might be 5 counts in and 5 counts out, but don't force it, don't stress it, let it come naturally. We'll be here for just a few more cycles of breath. Each inhale, filling you up to your max capacity. Each exhale, gently flowing down the body, maybe getting out any last little bits of tension that you're holding, maybe a little energy that you're spending. You can feel free to exhale your to-do list, emails you're thinking about, anything you wish to unplug from. We can spend this short amount of time together just hitting that reset button. Give me 2 more big cycles of breath here. We're going to make the intention to keep this mindful cycle of breath throughout class, even though we will start to move and maybe even sweat. We want to ideally keep our attention and focus on the breath first and foremost. 1 more big breath, prioritizing this cadence that's going to get us through class. And then when you've squeezed out all that old air, go ahead and flutter open the eyes. We're going to reach the hands up overhead, take a big stretch, reach the fingers, reach the toes, lengthen it all out, and then gently draw the knees into the chest. We're going to give ourselves a big squeeze, wiggle the toes, roll out the ankles, get out the pops and the creaks here. If you want to rock right and left, give yourself a little massage over the low back, maybe even some circles with the kneecaps on the ceiling, maybe a few in one direction and a few in the other. Take what you need here. And then we're going to plant our feet on the floor. We'll take the right leg up. A couple kicks here just to work out the static in the back line of the legs. Whenever you feel comfortable, you can interlace and hold. We're going to press through the heel, flex the toes down towards the shin. You might even be able to engage your quad muscle to get yourself a little bit more. Hands can come closer up to the heel if that's comfortable on the shoulders, just keeping everything relaxed in the neck. 1 more big breath here in the hamstring. And then on your exhale, you're going to drop this leg completely straight, flat against the mat. The left knee is going to drape itself over the body, reaching through the toes, finding this twist, but also this nice big side body stretch, this outer hip stretch on the left side. Take a big breath. On your exhale, firm up the belly, bring that left footprint back to the mat, and then we're going to take our right ankle up, over, and across. We're going to keep this kind of guy's cross of the legs as we drop it over to the left side of our mat. So my blocks are right there if my foot wants to catch that, or I can drop it down to the side or all the way to the floor. I'm going to keep that knee pointed up towards the ceiling, or maybe even pressing towards the front of my mat, finding that big outer hip stretch on the right. 1 big breath here with my shoulders squared off on the mat. And then firming up the belly, I'll bring the knees back to center and uncross the legs. Second side, left leg up. I'm going to give it a couple kicks, maybe noticing if the side is any grumpier than the right. And then when I feel ready, I'm going to interlace and hold, keeping the head, neck, and shoulders relaxed, really pressing through the heels. So it'd be the first thing to touch the ceiling, maybe even flexing that quad muscle a bit. Take a big breath here. All right, from here, you're going to drop that leg flat out against the mat. Take the right toes, reach them over across, keeping the right shoulder grounded, even though I know it wants to lift up a little bit. Big breath here as you feel that right outer hip stretch. And then again on the exhale, firming up the belly, bring that footprint back to center. We're going to take the left ankle up, over, and across. Then take this four stance or this funky chair shape over to the right side of the mat. Maybe using blocks or props to support that foot, or maybe letting the foot fall to the floor, up to you. My gaze is directly at the ceiling, so my neck is neutral, and that knee is pointing up towards the sky. Big breath. Exhale to firm up the belly and bring the knees back to center. As I uncross, this time I'm going to sweep up that strap that I said we needed, or that resistance band, or that belt, or that jump rope. I'm going to find the middle of it and loop the ball of the right foot. Now I do want to make sure that it's the ball of the foot and not the arch of the foot. So kind of shimmy up there towards your toes. All right, from here, I really like to wrap up my hands in the strap so I don't have to spend quite so much energy. I can kind of hang out here. I'm going to flex the toes towards the shin, and this is going to be that hamstring and calf portion of the stretch. If I want a little bit more, I can always lengthen out that left leg, which will give me a tick more intensity. Now I'm going to take one more big breath here, really pressing the heel up towards the ceiling. And then I want to keep this position of the leg as I slowly slide it across the ceiling. As I take it across the body to the left, I'm going to notice my outer hip, or kind of that IT band area, start to talk to me. So I'm going to find the stretch that is the stretch, not a strain, nothing that's too much here. One more big breath. And then on my exhale, I'm going to bring it back to center. Feel free to bend the knee to do so. To switch out the legs, I'm just going to pop my left foot right on up there and drop my right footprint to the floor. So again, making sure the toes, or the ball of the foot, is secure in the strap. I'm going to pull the toes down towards the nose. I'm going to pull the toes back behind me, pushing through the heel, finding that big hamstring and calf stretch. If I want a little extra, I can always slide that right foot out. But just recognize the sides are very different, so it's perfectly fine to do one variation on one side and something else on the other. After this big cycle of breath here with the head, neck, and shoulders grounded, I'm going to go ahead and slide that footprint across the ceiling towards my right. Try your best not to allow the heel to move towards the head of your mat. You want to keep that position that we had with the calf and hamstring stretch. One more big breath here, finding that outer hip start to talk to you. And then again, feel free to bend the knee as you bring yourself back to center. We're going to release the strap, head on over to the side, get it out of your way. We'll bring both knees into the chest and then rock and roll up and down your spine a few times before you go ahead and pop yourself all the way to a seated position. I'm immediately going to throw those legs out in front of me and then push my tush back behind me. So the tendency here is to always tuck your butt. We want to do the opposite, so really stick your tail feathers out. My feet are hip distance apart, my heels are grounded, and my feet are flexed. Inhale, hands up overhead. Keeping the biceps next to the ears, I'm going to lean forward, broadening the chest as I reach my fingers towards the wall in front of me. Inhale, rise back up and find that nice, long, tall spine. As I come forward, I'm going to notice that I feel a little tug on the hamstrings. Inhale, rise back up. What we want to try to avoid is as we come forward, we round the back, we tuck the tailbone, we create a rainbow shape, and then I actually lose my hamstring stretch and kind of stress out the back. So think about the upper body and the lower body being quite straight here, as if the two hands of a clock were getting closer together. Okay, we got one more inhale up and one more exhale to fold. Okay, from here, I'm going to come up and just let my arms relax down beside me, chin to the chest. I'm going to roll out my neck, taking one nice big circle in each direction, getting out those last pops and creaks. Shoulder blades are so very heavy down the back, and if I want, I can always take some more of these circles if something feels really productive. Okay, once I feel like I'm good to go, I'm going to sweep the feet back behind me, meeting in hands and knees, that tabletop position. We're going to go and stack the shoulders on top of the wrists and the hips on top of the knees. Spreading the fingers out, so I've got gloves, not mittens. I'm going to take a few rounds of cat-cow. On my inhale, gently drop the ribs towards the floor, and then exhale, push into the floor, arch the spine, tuck the tailbone to the nose. Inhale, dropping down, and then exhale, pushing to arch. Now, what we want to do here is get every link in the chain involved. So rather than just focusing on up and down, we really do want to focus on that wave-like motion, making sure that every single link in the chain gets a little bit of attention, a little bit of movement. We're kind of greasing all the wheels here. One more up, one more down. And then after you're finished, you're going to meet me in a nice neutral spine. Sliding the hips over to the right, just let them slide over, kind of sassing to the right. Find that outer hip stretch. I like to play with the angles because usually for me, sitting the booty back a little bit gives me a better stretch. Something for everybody. Then head on back to center and slide it over to the left. Again, maybe playing with the angles, knowing that this side is different, so it might require something different. Okay, as I bring myself back to center, I've got one more move here. I'm going to take my right foot back behind me, and I want to try to keep the heel in line with the hip and the toes pointed down. Now, right now, my shoulders are stacked on top of my wrists, but if I really take my snoot forward, I can eventually take my shoulders past my wrists, all right? And that's what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to really launch myself forward before I bend my elbows, and then come right back up. So as I take a few of these, look down for a second, make sure the elbows are pretty lined up with the wrists. We just don't want those elbows going way far back because it's pretty hard on that joint. You might feel a little compression or a little bit of ickiness there. So really lean forward, kind of like an airplane in a nosedive. Really pull that nose forward, and then we're going to switch it out. Left heel goes back, toes are pointed down, firm belly here. I'm going to launch myself forward with a strong core. And as I lower, I'm being mindful that I don't just drop down and dip to the floor, all right? I don't want to end up smooching my mat here. It's just enough to bend the elbows, to feel the strength of the shoulders. I'm keeping that broad open chest as if I'm in cobra pose, if you're familiar with that. Last one here, and then I'm done. Stepping that foot back, hug those thumbs in as if they're magnetized towards one another, stepping back into plank and pressing into down dog. Relaxing the chin to the chest, I'm going to go ahead and pedal out the calves, swaying the hips, just kind of feeling this first big pose. What I want to be mindful of is my shoulder blades. We have a tendency to either A, shove them up in our ears, or B, really lock them down our back. And we want kind of a happy medium. So it's a push, not a shove. We want to be buoyant, be able to bounce. So I'm going to call this neutral shoulder blades, halfway between the two. Looking forward, step up to the top of the mat. I'll see you there. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, relax, chin to chest. Inhale, rise up, get nice and tall. And exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, grab your blocks, take them to the top of the mat. We want to set them up about shoulder distance apart on the high side. We're going to come into our sun A's, and we're going to add on a little extra of that hamstring work here. So, top of the mat, feet hip distance apart. Here we go. Inhale, fill up the belly, the ribs, the chest. Exhale, fold, hips stacked on top of heels. Use the blocks for support if you'd like. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, my right foot's going to step back. I'm going to pause and drop the right knee. Now, using the blocks for some support, I'm going to straighten out that front leg into that half splits variation. My toes are flexed towards the shin. What I want to be careful of is that I'm not locked out through the knee. I tend to do that. So I'm going to micro bend the knee, dig the heel into the floor, and kind of pull it back, which is going to keep my hamstrings safe. Now, as soon as I get a good stretch here, I'm going to keep the blocks underneath my hands, bring it forward, bend, push, lift, walk into standing splits, staring at my kneecap, chin to chest. Once I feel a nice big tug here, I'm going to come right back down, and I'm going to do this a few times, okay? So pulling the toes back towards the shin, finding that really good, healthy alignment of the hamstring, and then I'll come forward and then lift it up nice and high, getting a little extra. Okay, one more like this, taking those hands and just using the blocks as extensions of them. Or maybe you don't need blocks at all and you're just using the hands on the floor. Perfectly fine. Okay, this is our last one here. So once you have that knee down, go ahead and get rid of your blocks. I'm going to place the hands on the mat, shoulder distance apart. Lift the back knee and slide on back into plank. Rocking the tiptoes, lower to the belly. Feel free to use the knees. I'm going to roll the shoulder heads back and take 3 cobras. As I rise, my toenails are glued to the floor. As I rise, I'm cinching in the waistline, so I'm protecting my low back here. And as I rise, I'm trying not to squeeze the buns too hard, which will also compress the low back. Curling the toes, find yourself in plank. Again, use the knees if necessary, and then I'll see you in down dog to lengthen it all out. Looking forward, bend the knees, step it on up, top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins, and exhale, relax the chin to the chest, and you're full. Inhale, rise up, get tall. And exhale, hands to heart center. We're going to even out the sides with one more sun A. Inhale, rise up, fill up. Exhale, lean forward and dive, maybe the blocks underneath the hands. Inhale, fingertips to shins. This time, exhale, left foot steps back behind you, dropping the knee. So as I grab the blocks for assistance, I'm going to pull the toes on back to the shin. Remembering to soften the bend of the knee, to dig that heel in and drag back if you feel locked out in that joint. Okay? Bringing it forward, use the blocks if you need to. Bend, push, lift. Standing splits as we look at that right kneecap. And as we peek back at the back toes, we want them kind of pointed downwards-ish. We got a few more of these. Drop that back knee and straighten out that right leg. As soon as you feel the tug, bring it forward and find your standing splits. So you can move at your own pace. You just want to make sure you're feeling the benefits of each pose before you move, so you're not just kind of flailing around in space. You're making sure you're finding the benefits and the purpose of the stretch. This is our last one. Once your knees back down on the floor, go ahead and get rid of your blocks. Plant the palms, lift the knee, plank, and belly. So if you liked what we did last round, feel free to keep it, or I'm going to take the fingertips out a little wider, which hopefully will encourage me not to use so much arm strength. Inhale, roll and wave up the spine, firm belly, long neck. Exhale, slowly let it go. Again, inhale, rise up, making sure we use the glutes but don't abuse them. And last one, inhale, rise up, roll up, articulating that spine up and down. Hands to the rib cage. Find your plank, find your down dog, lengthen it all the way out. All right, looking forward, stepping forward. I'll see you at the top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins, and exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, get nice and tall. Exhale, hands to heart center. All right. If your blocks got moved in that, go ahead and get them back to the top of the mat. We're actually not going to need our strap until the end of class, so you can make sure he's not in your way. And we're going to get to our sun bees. So our sun bees can involve a vinyasa. If you're familiar with that, feel free to throw him in. If you're not familiar, no worries. I'm going to walk you through everything, give you modifications. It's just important to take what you need. And what's beautiful about these online classes is you can rewind, you can pause, you can go over things, and you can really work out what the best practice is for you. So, top of the mat when you're ready, feet hip distance apart. I'm going to give you some options. You always know that you can take them or leave them. Inhale, hands up overhead. Exhale, have a seat in your chair, heavy in the heels, light in the toes. As soon as you find your chair, rise up, bringing the right knee with you, stack the ankle on top of the knee, and have a seat in your funky chair. So feel free to use the blocks if you'd like for stability. We're keeping the right foot flexed and hopefully feeling that pretty nice big stretch in the outer right hip. We're going to need that outer hip stretch for our baby grasshopper. As you rise back up, we're coming back into chair, weight way back in those sitting bones, and then rise up with the left knee to do the opposite side. Bring it down, take a breath. Gaze is important here, so if you're staring off into space, you might be moving. If you stare at something that's not moving, like a spot on the ground, usually you're a little more stable. As you rise up, come into one final chair, hinging at the hips, and then forward fold. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, vinyasa, and I'm just going to step back in the down dog, and you can always step back in the down dog when you hear the word vinyasa. All right, here we go. Inhale, right toes up in the sky. Exhale, kick this foot all the way between the hands. From here, spin the back heel down, rise up and find your warrior two. Now we're going to double check the foundation of 5 toes pointing forward and knee going through the middle of the foot. Take a big inhale here, feeling that hip stretch. And then exhale, straighten out the front legs, reach forward and down for the hamstring stretch. My hand's going to stay light. I can choose my shin, my ankle, or towards the pinky toe side of the foot. I'm going to do my best to revolve the chest up towards the ceiling, maybe even looking up at those fingertips. Then I'm going to rise up and reverse my warrior, keeping the straight legs. Lengthening through that right side body, keeping the shoulder blade down the back. I'm going to reset back into warrior two. I'm going to do this again. We're going to flow with our breath. Here we go. Take a big inhale. Exhale, straighten out the legs. Inhale forward. Exhale down. Good. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, reach. Inhale, down. Now we're going to hold this one for an extra cycle of breath here. This time I want you to make sure you're not sagging your head down in gravity. Rather, keep it in line with the rest of your spine. Okay, bending the knees, bring the hands down. Lift your back heel up. We're looking at the blocks. Bend, push, lift. Climb up on those guys and find your standing splits. Now take a moment here to either adjust the blocks to a lower setting if you need to, or you can take the hands to the floor. Up to you. And then once you have a solid foundation through your hands, whether it's the blocks or the floor, we're going to take these really important curtsies that are going to be part of our final pose. So knee to knee taps is what I'm looking for. But if you have the ability to go a little bit lower, feel free to take that kneecap maybe more towards the mid calf, or maybe you're working the kneecap more towards the back of the heel. All right. Whatever you're working with, take 2 more, maybe knee to knee, perfectly fine. Or maybe you're trying to find a little more through that range of motion. After you're done, we're going to drop the toes to the very back of the mat. Option 1, slide back into down dog. I'll see you there. Option 2, right hand comes up, push the floor away so you solidify the shoulder for a side plank. I'll see you in down dog when you're ready. Second side, same thing. Inhale, left toes up. Keeping the toes pointed down, we're going to throw that foot all the way through, spin the back heel down, rise up strong through the legs, stacking the shoulders on top of the hips. So once you've checked the kneecap right through the middle of the foot, we're going to make sure the back heel has just a little bit further back than the toes. Here's our flow. From warrior two, we're going to take a big old breath. All right, we're going to straighten out the front leg. We're going to reach as far forward as we can first, and then lightly land the hand to the shin. As I slide down, I'm going to find my hamstring stretch. Pressure to the ball of the front foot rather than the heel. maybe gazing up as I revolve my chest towards the ceiling. All right, from here, I'm going to rise up, reverse the triangle. Shoulder blades stay neutral rather than shoved up into the ears. Big inhale. And then we're going to take that flow. All right, big inhale. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, forward and down. Good. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, settle into your warrior two. Good. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, reaching down. We're going to hold this one for just a moment, lengthening out through the crown of the head. Take a breath for me. And then as we bend the knee, hands come down, spiral that back heel up, look forward, bend, push, lift, find your standing splits. You're welcome to relax the chin to the chest so you're staring at your kneecaps. Maybe you change the positioning of the blocks or hands to the floor. Knee to knee taps here. Or as you curtsy down, you're going to slowly work on that range of motion, perhaps getting the knee a little closer to the floor, closer to the heel. We got one more little curtsy. Get on down there, teeny tiny little guy. All right, and then toes to the back of the mat. We're going to walk to the middle of the mat, square off your feet so they look like they're on railroad tracks. Take a forward fold. So you want to be careful that we're not caving to the outer edges or spilling to the insides. Once we have the hips stacked on the heels, we want those four corners of the feet grounded. We've got one big breath here as we relax the chin to the chest. And then we'll walk it forward. Down dog is a great idea. Or push the mat away with your right hand, sweep it into side plank, hips high, almost creating a rainbow shape here with the spine. And then I'll see you in down dog. We're going to rest in pigeon, bring the right knee in, sweep the shin across the mat, drop the back knee, and then wiggle it on back. All right, two things here. We're looking for a straight-ish line from sitting bone to big toe, so we don't have that weird kink in the ankle, which is the tendency. And then also we're going to look for kind of a relatively flat-ish low back rather than that big slope to the right. So if you put your hand here and you don't feel like your cheeks are even, you can always take a block, place it underneath that right side, and give yourself a little support. I'm going to be here for 3 cycles of breath, feeling that outer right hip stretch. And if you need a little bit more, just imagine your left long leg side getting 1% heavier. It's not a big shift. It's not a big movement. It's just a tiny bit of awareness to the left side, influencing the right side. One more breath. All right, as I bring it back up to my palms, firm belly as I curl my toes, slide back into down dog. We'll do the other side. Left knee comes in, sweep the shin across the mat, drop the back knee, and scooch it on back. Reaching through the big toe, it's a nice straight line there. Bring it on down. You can always put a block under your forearms if you want to stay up a little bit higher, or even a block under the forehead, which can feel really nice, especially for any kind of headachy feeling. Pressure is great. And then once you have your space, you might put the hand on the tailbone just to kind of make sure that we're relatively flat-ish. And then if you want that tick more, you can always just imagine that right side, that long leg side, getting just a hair heavier. One more big breath. Inhale, belly, ribs, and chest. All right, back to it. Bring the palms to the mat, strong through the shoulders in that plank position as you slide back into down dog. Looking forward, stepping forward, top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, get nice and tall. Exhale, come right back down into your chair, hinging at the hips, heavy through the heels. Bring that right knee up, find your funky chair, bring it on down, maybe a little lower this time with the option of grabbing the blocks or even the floor if you'd like. Take a big breath. And then exhale back down into your normal chair. Inhale your left knee up, cross it on over, and find your second side of funky chair, grabbing the blocks or the floor. Give me a big old breath here. Maybe getting a little deeper in that left outer hip. And then we'll bring it up and we'll set it down into chair. Forward fold on the exhale. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale your vinyasa, or if you'd like to add on a little extra, I'm going to come from plank, drop the knees, elbows to ribs, broadening the chest as if I'm in cobra, and then down dog. That's just going to be kind of the first steps towards a full vinyasa. Second round. Inhale, right toes up in the sky. Exhale, kick the foot all the way through. Now I'm going to pause. I'm going to grab my blocks and bring them back here, setting them on either side of my ankle here. All right, keeping that back heel lifted. Rise up into crescent, pressing strong through the legs, wrapping the core in support of the low back. All right, big inhale. Exhale, maybe get a little lower. All right, the hands are going to come to the blocks. I'm going to straighten out my leg, peel my footprint up off the floor, flexing the toes towards the shin. As soon as I feel a hamstring stretch, I'm going to bend the knee, strong through the legs, low through the hips, rise up, crescent. Okay, hands come back down, peel that footprint up off the mat, maybe changing the positioning of the blocks if necessary, and then footprint back down, low in the hips, rise up strong through the core. We got one more set like that. Hands come down. Find your hamstring stretch. We're going to hang out here for an extra breath. So maybe you're reorganizing the blocks. You're staying safe in the joint with a little micro bend if necessary. All right, and then bend the knee. I'm going to get my blocks back to where I found them. All right, we're coming into that standing split. So look forward, bend, push, lift, blocks come with you. All right, this time, find what you need to ground through your hands, whether it's the blocks or the floor. We're going to add on to our curtsy. So knee to knee taps, and can you shoot your leg over to the right? Bring it right back to that knee to knee tap and up into the sky. Knee to knee tap, straightening out the leg over towards the right, and then bring it right back up. I promise this will make sense in our peak pose. Last one, curtsy and shoot that foot across, and then bring it up, and you're done. Toes come down. Option 1 is down dog. Option 2 is going to be side plank, but I'm going to add on. So my right foot's going to slide halfway back. All 10 toes are going to point towards the side of my mat. I'm going to lower my hips to get that outer hip stretch, and I'm going to spike my hips up nice and high, getting the right outer hip stretched out. Left and right. Hands come down, down dog to lengthen. Second side, same thing. And then we'll work a little baby grasshopper. Inhale, left toes up. Exhale, kick it on through. Okay, I'm going to grab those blocks in support of that hamstring stretch here in just a moment. Strong through the legs. Let's rise up, crescent pose. Reaching through the crown of the head, making sure that core is supporting the low back. Once I find my crescent, hands come to the blocks, straighten out to find my hamstring stretch. Taking the time to recognize if I need to micro bend the knee or if I need to adjust the blocks. Then I'll bend the knee, keep the hips nice and low as I fire through my back heel and rise up to find my crescent. Okay, hands come back down. Straightening out that front leg again, making adjustments if necessary. We're going to do this for one more round. Bend the knee, press to the heels, rise up, lengthen through the crown of the head. And on this very last round, we're going to drop the hands and we're going to hold for an extra cycle of breath. So maybe that means moving the blocks to a different setting, working towards the floor, your choice. All right, as you bend the knee, blocks are going to come with you. Bend, push, lift, standing splits. Make sure your hands are grounded into something before you work this curtsy. Knee to knee tap, and then shove your foot over to the left. Then bring it right back up. It's going to be a tap and a push over to the left. One more. Tap and push, and then bring it all the way back. Toes to the back of the mat. Maybe it's down dog for you, or maybe you're going to reach the left hand high, slide the left foot halfway back and turn the toes to the side of the mat. Strong through the shoulder as I drop my hips down. Strong through the shoulder as I hike my hips up high. Down for the outer right hip, up for the left outer hip. Hands come down dog to lengthen. All right, I'm going to roll forward to plank, drop down to the forearms. I'm going to stay really strong to the core here, cinching in that waistline as I slow lower down to Sphinx, uncurling my toes. Keeping that really strong chest, I'm going to take my right hand, spin it inwards, and then roll onto my right side. So what's important about this is that I've lined up my right elbow under my right shoulder. The tendency is to kind of reach further out than that, all right? So really snuggle him in and line him up. All right, we're working on a baby grasshopper now, or a variation of baby grasshopper. So we're going to take that left leg up, over, and across. What's important about him is that he's able to bear weight. So make sure that you choose a positioning where you can flatten out your foot and really launch into him, okay? So I've got my shoulder stacked. I've got my foot ready for weight. I'm going to take an inhale. And on my exhale, I'm going to see if I can use my hands to help lift my booty up off the floor, okay? Lean forward, use my hand and my elbow. And then once I say, yep, I got this, I'm done, okay? Now I can continue with that, or I'm going to try to get rid of that left hand just by pushing deeply into the mat with my right elbow. I'm going to take an inhale, exhale, lift, okay? Inhale, exhale, push into the elbow and lift, okay? Now you're welcome to stay here, or our last little bit here is going to be working on lifting this straight leg, okay? So my hand's going to kind of rest here against my shin. I'm going to take an inhale. Exhale, lift. Maybe that right leg lifts too. It's a lot, so don't worry if it's not there, okay? Lift, lift. Last one. Push to roll that booty up off the floor. Maybe lift the leg, Okay. All right. From here, we're going to restack the legs, come back into our Sphinx, strong through the belly, second side. Left arm is going to spin, roll onto the left hips, or the left hip, and then that right foot's going to come up over and across, making sure that it finds the support that it needs so it can push through all four corners. Okay. Got my elbow underneath my shoulder. First round, my right hand gets to help. Inhale, exhale, push into my hand and my elbow to lift. Okay. Now it's 3 with each round. Take it at your own pace. If this is feeling okay after 3, then maybe you get rid of the hand and you try to go hands free. Okay, pressing deeply into the left elbow, pressing all your weight into that right footprint, using a little bit of momentum to rock forward. Okay, last set of 3, maybe I take my hand to rest on my shin. Inhale, exhale, lift the booty, lift the leg. Okay, it's not going to be a giant lift. It might not be a lift at all, but the idea is that we're working on a little bit of upward motion. Okay, all right, put it back down. Stack the legs, roll it on back into Sphinx. All right, we're going back the way we came. So lift the belly button up off the floor, curl the toes, push back up into forearm plank, strong here, rise up to plank and down dog. All right, look forward, bend the knees, walk on up, top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins, and exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, get tall. Exhale, hands to heart center. All right, you have made it. This is our last round. After we do this, we're going to do our full transition of standing splits to baby grasshopper. Okay, so if your blocks kind of got moved around in that last round, stick them all back up at the top of your mat. And actually, it's probably best to pull them down to the sides of the mat. It's going to be a little bit easier to grab here as we come into our last round. Okay, top of the mat. You know you're more than welcome to rest as long as you need. That's what that pause button is for. I'll see you when I see you. Top of the mat, feet hip distance apart. Last set of funky chairs. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, have a seat. Bring that right knee up with you, cross over, maybe finding yourself a little bit deeper in this pose, maybe just a little more ease than there was before, maybe your range of motion's a bit more. Bring it up, set it back into your chair, switch it out. Left ankle comes up, keep the foot flexed, sit your sitting bones on back, keep your gaze strong and steady, take a big breath here, find your funky chair. All right, bring it back, set into your very last chair, and then forward fold. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, your last vinyasa. Maybe it's down dog. Maybe you're dropping the knees like we did last round. Maybe you're shifting forward to the tippiest of your tippy toes, broadening the chest, dropping the elbows towards the ribs, flipping the toes, broadening the chest, flipping the toes, down dog. Inhale, right toes up in the sky. Exhale, kick it on through and pause. This time we're going to spin the back heel down. Keep the hips, shoulders, and gaze facing forward as you rise up into warrior one. Now, what I really like to do is take this right foot and wiggle it out so I can really have some room to roll my hips forward. It also feels better in my low back area. Big inhale here. Exhale, get low. Reach the hands forward. Scoop up those blocks and place them underneath your shoulders. Straightening out the arms and the legs. We're going to inhale, lengthen the spine forward. Exhale, maybe you choose to bow over the shin. So maybe you bend the elbows. Maybe you take the blocks lower. We're taking pressure through the ball of the foot. Feel free to soften the knee if you feel locked out. And then most importantly, we want that relatively flat low back, kind of like what we practiced in pigeon. So rather than allowing this left hip to flare open, I'm really working on taking it down. One more big breath here. In this big hamstring stretch. And then we're going to bend the knee. All right. Make sure that you have access to those blocks. We're going to spin that back heel up. Okay. All right. Getting rid of those blocks. Looking forward. Don't take the blocks with you this time. Bend, push, lift. Now your standing splits might feel different without the block. You might have to have a much deeper bend in the knee. That's perfectly fine. Okay. All right. So if we're putting it all together here, it's going to be knee to knee taps. Push your foot over, and if possible, take your right hand and reach for your foot. Okay? Bring it back, scoop it back up. So it's going to be tap, push, and tap with the hand. Bring it all the way back up. Last one. Tap, push, and tap. All right. Set that foot all the way to the very back of the mat. I'll see you in down dog. Last side, last set here. Inhale, left toes up in the sky. Exhale, kick it all the way through. All right, spin that back heel down. Strong through the heels, strong through the legs, strong through the core as you rise up. Find your warrior one, maybe with that adjustment of wiggling that left foot over. Pressing through the heels, give me a big breath. And then exhale, lean forward and grab the hands, or grab the blocks with the hands. Straightening out the arms and the legs. We're going to inhale, reach the crown of the head forward and fold if you'd like. We're trying our best to maintain that relatively neutral low back, even though I know that right hip really wants to flare out. Take a big old breath. Inhale, belly, ribs, and chest. Exhale, maybe getting just a tick more comfortable in that hamstring stretch. All right, bend the knee, get rid of the blocks. We're gonna spin our back heel up without taking the blocks with you. Bend, push, lift. Find your standing splits with your hands grounded on the floor. Okay, we're gonna take the knee to knee tap. We're gonna push the foot over. Maybe the left hand is gonna tap the foot. Bring it right back up, okay? So it's tap, push, and tap. Last one, bring it up. We're gonna tap, push, and tap. All right, bring it up, set it all the way down, find your down dog, lengthen it out, and then coming into our last last pose-ish, dolphin, dropping the elbows, shoulder distance apart, relaxing the chin to the chest, look back at those feet. They're probably hip distance apart. If your hamstrings are a little grumpy, you might take them wider. If your hamstrings need a little bit more, you can walk your toes closer to your face. What we want to prioritize here is pressing through the heels and pressing the sitting bones into the back of the room or the back of the mat. Take one more big breath here, relaxing the neck as you do so, and then dropping the knees. All right, you made it to our final bit right here. What we're going to do is we're going to combine our standing splits, which we did many, many times in class, to a variation of baby grasshopper, which we practiced a little bit during the middle of class. We're going to put it all together, and I'm going to turn and face you guys so that it's a little bit easier to see everything that's going on. What I want to do is show you the whole thing first, and then I want to show you a really great way to use the strap here, okay? So it's okay, again, if your standing splits isn't perfectly straight, because you're going to bend your knees to do your knee taps anyway, all right? So just feel free to make the standing splits your own. You just want to have your hands grounded, okay? So here's what it's going to look like. From a standing position, just feel free to sit and watch, and you can always rewind and watch it many times. I'm going to take my standing splits, so hands are going to be grounded on the floor, and my right heel is going to lift. Now, we've done this before, okay? So we're just putting all the puzzle pieces together now. We're getting the brain to work in a certain order. So it's going to be knee-to-knee taps, and then I'm going to pause. Now, this is the big switch that we haven't done yet. What I want to do is I want to take my right hand back in line with my foot. And I'm going to show you why that's important in just a second, but we want to take that step back, okay? Now, as I take my left hand to my foot, remember we practiced that tap, I'm going to go ahead and solidify the grasp on the pinky toe side of the foot, okay? And I'm going to start to push my foot. We practice that. Some of us might stay here. If we feel like we have a little bit more motion through our leg, we can continue to push through the leg, descending, that elbow bending, and kind of catching the rib cage here. Then we can push back into the hand and bring ourselves right back up, okay? So the reason we have to move that hand back is if I would have kept it here, then as I bent, I would have put myself in kind of a compromising position here with the shoulder and the wrist. We want to bring it back so we're stacked up more as we would be in a plank or a chaturanga, keeping those joints safe, okay? So I'm going to do it on the other side, and I'm going to use the strap this time, okay? So I'm going to have the strap handy right here. Have it looped up. Perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm bringing it up. This time as I tap, if I know that, you know what, I'm not going to be able to get my leg straight, I really want to use the strap instead. Same steps. I'm going to take my hand back in line with my foot. I'm going to grab the strap, loop it up, and I want to start pretty tight next to me. And then all I'm going to do is as I push, if I need strap, I just slowly let the strap slide through my hands. Okay, so maybe you don't need much, and definitely falling on your bum is going to happen a lot, okay? But if you don't need a lot of strap, then you don't have to take it. If you need a lot of strap, then you let it slide a lot. But I see people start with way too much, and they don't have really anywhere to go. They kind of get stuck here, okay? So feel free to use the strap if you'd like to. We're going to do it all together one more time, right and left, and then we're going to cool down. All right, so if you're ready, here we go. Hands on the floor, right foot up in the sky. Big inhale. Exhale, knee to knee taps. I'm going to immediately step the right hand back in line with the foot. Left hand scoops up the pinky toe side of the foot. As I push, I can pause whenever I need to. If I want to push and descend, I'm going to bend the right elbow. Elbow's headed to the rib cage. Leg maybe straight. Then I'm going to push deeply into my right hand on my left foot as I sweep it back up, put it down, switch it out. Okay, I'm going to cue the strap in case you're using it. Inhale, left foot up into the sky. Knee to knee taps. I'm going to take the left hand back in line with the foot. I'm going to take the strap and loop it to the foot. Okay? Or I grab the pinky toe side of the foot. As I push to straighten out the leg, I'm either going to let the strap slide just a tiny bit, or I'm going to keep a hold of the foot and straighten, holding elbows to ribs. I can let my bum drop, or I can push into my foot and my hand, and I can bring it right back to standing splits. All right. Nice work. You made it. Feel free to try that transition a few times over if you'd like. Or if you're ready for Shavasana, you're ready to cool down, go ahead and meet me on your tush, and then have the strap handy because I'm going to show you a really nice shoulder release with it. So rather than using it for our peak pose, we're going to be using it for our cool down as well. So I want to take one end of the strap. I'm going to place it underneath my sitting bones. I'm going to really anchor down onto it because I'm going to pull on the strap quite a bit. Okay, so making sure there's no wrinkles in that strap. I'm going to pull it up over my right shoulder, right in the middle, like where a tank top strap would be. Once I have it over my right shoulder, I'm going to wrap up my left hand like a boxer would, so that I can really pull down, and this shoulder is going to melt down the back. Okay. Once I have that, I'm going to let that arm to rest. And then the magic happens. I'm going to slowly tilt my head away from the strap. I'm going to immediately feel a pretty big side neck stretch, but I have this really great opportunity to play with these angles by maybe taking the nose towards the armpit, which is going to get more of the back of the neck, or maybe the nose towards the heart. But I can do the opposite. I can take the nose kind of like in a snooty way away from me or up towards the ceiling. Okay, so take a few more seconds here and just play with the angles. And as soon as you find something that feels good, just melt into it. Keep the right shoulder heavy. Keep the breath even. Melt. One more big breath here, getting what you need on the right side. And then as you come out, just do it so slowly, releasing the pressure of the shoulder and the neck angle at the same time. Okay, all right, bringing it on over to the opposite side. I'm going to place it on my left shoulder again. I start right there in the middle of it, but if you feel like it'd be more productive to get closer to the neck or further away, you can absolutely take that option. I'm going to wrap up my right hand this time, pull down until I feel a little tug, letting my arm just die here. I'm going to look away from the strap or tilt my head away from the strap, and then begin my angles. So this side already feels different. I don't have near the tension when I take that angle, so I'm going to try something else. I'm going to kind of play and move my head around and find something that works. It's always good to recognize the difference between the sides. It kind of gives you a look into what you might be doing throughout your day that's different, because the more symmetrical you can be, the less dysfunction you have, the less asymmetry you have in your tension. One more big breath here. All right, slowly release the tension out of the strap and the tension out of the neck at the same time. Okay, bring it on down. With the strap in hand, we've got one more cool down stretch. We hit those outer hips a lot, so we're just going to make sure the inner hips are taken care of. So you're going to take the middle of the strap, the ball of the foot, should be pretty familiar. But this time, rather than wrapping up the hands, I'm going to take both straps into just the right hand. I'm going to slowly start to take the leg away from me. Okay, toes are still pulling to the shin, pulling the toes to the back behind me. Now, what happens here is once my muscles say, okay, I'm done stretching, my pelvis, a little further away, my pelvis will be like, oh, don't worry, I got you. And then the pelvis tilts and it's the bones moving. So then my butt lifts up off the floor and it looks like I'm in a bigger pose, but it's really just my bones moving instead of my muscles. So as you come over and across and find it, just maybe keep that left hand on the hip so that you kind of have everything anchored down and you don't eventually lift up and become asymmetrical to the low back. So you just slowly breathe into this. Each exhale, giving yourself a little ease to that groin area. You can always take your hand closer to the foot or give yourself plenty of strap if needed. I got one more big breath here with the pelvis anchored down. And then just as before, if you need to bend the knee to bring it back to center, you're welcome to do so. We're going to switch out the feet. Left foot goes in and right footprint to the mat. Okay, so now both straps go into the left hand. I'm going to find that nice straight leg first. And then as I come out, I just want to be very aware of the tendency for my my pelvis to shift and my bones to kind of be like, yep, I got this. I can help out. No worries. This side will feel different. It could be a little tighter or it could be a little more forgiving. So just pay attention, maybe having that right hand rest on the right side so that you know when you have gone too far. Okay? Blocks are in the way. There we go. All right, 2 more cycles of breath here. On each exhale, softening the muscle fibers right there on the inside of the thigh. And then be sure to bend the knee if you'd like to bring yourself back to center. All right, get ring the strap, making sure all the props are out away from you. And then we're going to finish with happy baby. So both hands to both ankles or the pinky toe sides of the feet. Draw the thigh bones down. See if you can keep the back of the head grounded as well as the tailbone. Take 1 big breath. Exhale, melt into those inner hips, and then release the legs completely. All right, you're going to go ahead and find your full Shavasana. So arms nice and long, legs nice and long, or something sounds a little more comfortable to you, go ahead. Watson's been taking a Shavasana this whole time. Haven't you, Watson? All right. Finding your Shavasana. Using the poses. Hey, buddy. Go ahead and close down the eyes. Oh, I think he's going to join me. All right, buddy. You ready for Shavasana? Okay, come here. Okay. Get as comfortable as possible. Close down the eyes. Again, create that nice blank slate from head to toe. First and foremost, come into the breath, knowing that your breath sends signals to the rest of the body. We want to make sure that the right ones. So as you inhale deeply, and as you exhale completely, know that as you mindfully breathe, you are sending signals to your nervous system that you're safe, grounded, that you're ready to rest. In turn, the nervous system is going to slow down the heart rate, lower the blood pressure. Rather than being on high alert and searching for threats, it's going to calm down and allow you to find this state of rest. Prioritize your breath here, mindfully inhaling and exhaling. Each inhale drawing in the good calm energy around you that you helped create during this time. Each exhale, flowing down the body, maybe taking away a few more bits of tension, bits of energy that you're spending, or maybe something much more specific to you. Allow each cycle of breath to be productive. Allow each cycle of breath to be an opportunity to work towards that very best version of you by bringing in what you need and letting go of what no longer serves your purpose. Take just a few moments here, assigning intention to that breath, allowing it to hit the reset button. And keeping the eyes closed. Take one more big breath up and down the body, this time noticing the difference that you created with the movements that you took, with the breath work that you prioritized. As you begin to wiggle fingers and toes, you might continue to see those benefits in the joints and in the muscles. And as eventually you reach the hands up overhead, take a big moment here to compare it with the first full body stretch we took at the beginning of class. As you gently draw the knees into the chest, you might notice the low back and the hips. Feel free to take any movement necessary. And then eventually we're going to very softly roll over to the right side, using your right arm as a pillow. Take this moment here to feel a little gratitude for what the body was able to accomplish with the ability to move and breathe as it does. Take a moment here to gather up all the good calm energy that you helped create so that you make sure to leave your mat the very best version of you. When you're ready, when you have what you need, go ahead and slowly roll up to a seated position, sitting up nice and tall in the spine. Hands to heart center, chin towards the chest. Thank you so very much for taking some time out of your busy day to find both movement and stillness, and to really recognize how this time greatly benefits all the rest of your day and night. It was my honor to lead you through class. Namaste.